Hello and welcome. This is the last of the third part for chapter one, an easy chapter, but a very content rich chapter. So, what I'll quickly go and do is teach you all about memory in today's chapter. Let me share my screen, and we are looking at 1.6. What's a memory unit? Well, in simple terms, a basic computer has two memory units, primary unit and a secondary unit. Both are accessible. Primary unit is accessible directly by CPU, and the example of primary unit is RAM. Today's mobile phone, you always ask, kitna GB RAM hai? What's the power? The determination of your device is determined by how much RAM does it have. RAM is basically random access memory. What is RAM? We'll learn about it in a little while. But you realize that RAM is a volatile kind of a memory. You switch on, RAM has it. You switch off the computer or your mobile phone, and it goes away. Entire memory goes away. So that is why you need a memory which is more stable, which is permanent, which is what we call secondary memory. Example could be, your CD disks, your USBs, your hard disks, your pen drives. All of these are secondary, which are external, which is located outside, but they are not exactly integral part of your computer. That's why primary unit is more expensive than the secondary unit, and primary unit is what makes your iPhones, your mobile phones, all your computers more important is the primary memory. How do I measure a memory? Well, if I were to measure all your memories, probably I don't know how much will I get it, but a computer's memory is its internal storage in cells. Very similar to human cells that you would have learned in your biology. Each cell can store a fixed number of bits. It's a word length, right? So we'll talk about a bit. Basically, computers are simple, but only understands the language of zeros and ones. So zeros and ones together is a digit known as a bit. So the bit rate of a computer together, it cannot come in zeros and one in isolation. It'll always come in 8 bits, which is called a byte. Simple as that. So what's a byte? Kilobyte, gigabyte, megabyte. No, we are talking about millions and millions of memory storage unit. But you need to understand every single byte will be in the power of 2. 2 to the power 4, 2 to the power 8, 2 to the power 10. That's how it'll go. You probably just need to understand this, and you don't have to understand the whole thing. But yes, kilobyte is 2 to the power 10, right? It's basically 1024 bytes. Mega is 20, giga is 30, and tetra or tera is 40. Actually, there's tetra, and octa is 80. The same way we look at our numbers. This is how you measure a computer's memory. Probably you look at your mobile phones and tell me what's the memory and the byte of your mobile phone. Remember, we spoke about primary memory, RAM and ROM. So let's talk about RAM, random access memory, which is randomly used to store in the direct. Right now, immediately I'm doing something, I'm typing something. Right now, I colored this. This is stored in random access memory. The moment I close this file, the memory is erased, it is gone. It is also, that is why called read-write memory. It's a volatile form of memory. The data in the RAM is lost as soon as the computer is shut down. We always remember, when you try to answer, use computer as an example, not mobile as an example. ROM is read-only memory. How is it different? Is you cannot erase or modify the data in ROM. So simple as that. It is also the non-volatile. So it stays there. For example, there's certain calculation, there's certain standard files, which is always going to be there. You cannot change it, right? So ROM is permanent. It is like in your mobile, there's certain apps like clock, like calculator. If you're an Android phone, you have the Android weather. You can only make it to its original state, the default state it is called, but you cannot delete it or uninstall the app. Those are ROMs. ROMs also are supplied by manufacturers to the computer. For example, the BIOS, basic input output system, is a ROM, right? You need it to start the computer, you need it to check the peripheral device, connect the USBs. So these are the ROMs. For example, different type of ROMs, I'll give you example. PROM, programmable read-only memory. So you can only, modify, erase program in a ROM. Once written, you cannot be changed, even if you switch off the computer. PROM, EPROM, erasable. As the name says, there's a chip on it, right? And just you can make some modification on the erasable thing. It could be the clock of it. So now I want a 24-hour clock or a 12-hour clock. I want to change the clock according to the location I am in. Maybe that's an EPROM. There's also EEPROM. What is electrically erasable PROM? Well, you use electrical signals to change the partial modification is possible. These are some of the input. It could be the display of your computer. It could be the brightness of the computer. I use a signal and I can change the double EEPROMs. Very interesting part of the CPU is the cache memory. What is the cache memory? The CPUs decrease the speed slowly compared to the main memory to increase the performance of the CPU. It's more like, it's a steroid you're going. It's a protein intake for the computer. A small memory chip is attached between CPU and the main memory. That is helpful in increasing the speed of the CPU. That is called cache memory. If you watch a series called Boys on Amazon Prime, there's something called Compound V. You inject a compound V, you become very energetic. Cache memory is a compound V of the computer, right? It is faster to access than a conventional RAM. It is expensive, so you can add. I want to add an extra 8 GB of RAM, cache memory. That's what I do. It's expensive and limited amount, but you can do it. Now, what are these secondary memories? So far, we only spoke about primary memory. What's a secondary memory? It's also called auxiliary memory. It's a secondary. It is a storage device. It is also non-volatile. It's mostly permanent. The memory's cost per bit storage is very low. However, large data can be stored. Very interesting. So we are looking at external things like a hard disk, CD, DVD, and pen drive. A quick question to you. What about the cloud servers? Is it primary memory or secondary memory? Google it and let me know the answer. It's just a question for you to increase your curiosity, right? Well, magnetic tape, magnetic drums, and floppy disks, which you never use anymore. They are more for historical storage. They're also very, very popular storage device. What's a magnetic tape now? So it's like large frame mainframe computers had a lot of data, even for computing. Now the data cost is very high, so you use magnetic tapes. Think of, movies earlier used to come in tapes. Now you don't have any more tapes of these. Magnetic tapes have direct access. They are in disc. They are mostly in concentric circle called tracks. There must be a picture of it. This is like a movie tape that you can see here. It's a 10.5-inch tape. Even today, it's a collector's item, right? Most of them will not be found, but these were some of them. You can even erase and rewrite a data. What you do know is a hard disk. I have a hard disk here. I usually store when I travel. I need to show my backup is there. Sometimes there's so many important files you don't want to store it. Now, mostly we store in Google storage. You store in cloud. You store in your Google drives. But hard disk is an external drive, a secondary storage, non-volatile. That means it will not change so much. A permanent kind of a thing. These are also read-write. It can be erasable. You can format a hard disk, and a large amount of data can be. What are the 3 companies that make hard disks? Go ahead and tell me. I know Seagate makes wonderful hard disks. Think about Samsung makes hard disks. Any other, there is this T, right? So find out some companies that make hard disks and you can write it down. Finally, we have got optical disk. Well, it's like, anything that uses memory, optical rays, or these are like read and write. CD-ROMs, compact disk, read-only memory, where these are called optical discs. Basically, it's a small diameter thing you insert. But for reading it, you must have a CD drive. Most of the laptops in today's time do not have a CD drive. We used to have a lot of movies coming in CD drive. This is recordable. This is erasable. We used to have entire lectures, tapes on a CD drive. It was perhaps one of the best collection we had until the whole world has changed. There's also a DVD. DVD used to have movies on it because the capacity of a DVD is higher than a CD. A single DVD could have almost close to 4.7 GB of data. That is why you used to have high definition movies on DVDs. Remember these terms and remember this quickly, how you talk about it. A very common question that is usually asked, I'll take a snapshot and send you, is the difference between RAM and ROM. Random access memory is volatile, ROM is non-volatile, read-only memory. The data in RAM can be altered. It cannot be altered in ROM. So, RAM is faster, ROM is slower. CPU has direct access to RAM, simple as that. And RAM is costlier. Another example is volatile, non-volatile memory. And then there are these flash memories. What is a flash memory? Remember a memory chip used for storage. Remember we used to call about cache memory. Now between a computer and a digital device is a flash memory. Well, a USB, a mobile phone, a tablet, digital cameras, all of these are flash memories. Very, very common. You can insert a small chip, you can have a lot of data into it. Flash memory is non-volatile. It has come from EEPROM and triple EEPROM. Remember, right? Programmable read-only memory, electrically programmable, erasable electrical. So this is it. This is basically as a memory card. In your mobile phones, in your cameras, you want to have a lot of pictures, you put a memory card called SD slot. The SD slots, so the SD cards, memory sticks are there, multimedia cards, MMC are there. So common, so often you use it. I still now, as long as in 2023, pen drive is still a very common form of transferable devices. Now you've got apps, so you can just throw a file and it gets collected, while without using any wires. A pen drive is a small secondary storage portable device. Remember these words: small portable secondary storage device. It's called pen. It's a hex like pen. You connect to a USB port and you can collect data. You can use it. It's also called an old word. I almost forgot about, called thumb drives. So it's a thumb or a pen drive. Probably you almost done most of the chapters, so you know all the answers now. I will send you some pictures very quickly. What is 1 KB? It's 1024 bytes. Primary memory is RAM and ROM. To increase the performance, you use a memory chip which is between a main memory and CPU. Well, this is called cache memory. You have an entire definition of a cache memory here. I love this definition. And a hard disk is the most common storage, secondary storage device. Remember, it's a secondary storage device. There are two kind of computer memory, primary and secondary. What do you think? Yes, absolutely. It's true. Computer can be understood by decimal system. No, it's bits and bytes. Right? Decimal system is just 0 to 10. The storage of a program and data is in RAM is permanent. Yes. Is it not permanent? RAM is not permanent. You close the RAM and it goes away. Think of it. I also have to. RAM is not permanent. No, it's wrong. PROM is secondary memory. Yes, PROM is secondary memory. Yes, true. Programmable read-only memory. And memory we do not lose their content on failure of power are non-volatile. Yes, right? So it's all the files that you've got. Hopefully, we can also go through some of the in-text question. You have learned a lot of things in computer. Remember the three things I told you. I'll send pictures of this. What is sequential and random memory? We did not do. Well, sequential is basically disk blocks. Random is, volume. So you do volumes. Sequential again is volume can be accessed concurrently after an operation. Random, it says anything you can you usually use. So for example, if I have a playlist on a music system, I go one song after another song. It's a sequential thing. I can have a mixed thing. Anything can come up. It is a random access, right? So simple as that. This is basically, concurrent sessions can go on random access. A client has a backup. In simple words, you can explain, use a music system, and your answer is done. What are the different type of ports? Well, a port, what is a port, by the way? It's a connection point or an interface where you can plug in an external device like a printer, scanner, keyboard, mouse. So there are many ports out there. There is a parallel port, there is a serial port, there is a game port, there is a USB port, there is a keyboard port, right? So these are the common ports we've got. Most of the other questions are very standard. All the best. We've done chapter number 1. A very ordinary chapter, but a lot of questions come from there. You crack it and you are done. I'll send you some of the photos of some of the differences that I spoke about. Good luck. Bye-bye.